It's another beautiful day in the city by the bay, San Francisco, California. Tonight, Game 3 of our 4-game series between the Braves and the red-hot Giants comes your way next from AT&T Park. Hi again, friends. Chip and Joe back with you. Time for the Braves to get back into the win column. Starting pitching has not been a problem. It's been excellent for the Braves in this series, and on the road trip, bullpen meltdowns have been a problem and a lack of offense. Let's hope Perez doesn't suffer either one of those issues in his first start of the series tonight.
This is going to be a fun matchup, I think, tonight. Perez goes for the Braves. He pitched a good ball game against the Dodgers his last time out. He only gave up 1 run in the first inning. He walked in a run. His first start of the year, he only gave up 1 run, and it was in the first inning on a sacrifice fly. He's pitching great if he can get through the first inning. Tim Lincecum has been unbelievable at home. This month he's 4-0, a 2.05 ERA, and has not given up a run at home in his last 22 innings pitched in this ballpark. So runs, again, are going to be hard to come by. If the Braves get some offensive opportunities, they've got to capitalize.
Good pitching, our Home Depot tools from the dugout tonight as the Braves try to break into the win column against the Giants here at AT&T Park. Another sellout crowd on hand. We'll see what happens. Lineups and first pitch coming up right after the break. Sellout number 353 in a row will be announced officially in just a few minutes later on tonight as the Braves and Giants hook up in Game 3 of the series. The Freak, Tim Lincecum, is back in action for the Giants, sporting a 5-2 record. And as Joe pointed out a moment ago, he's been like Tim Lincecum of old, especially on his home mound.
Yeah, he kind of went back to the future, I'll say, with his dad working with him on some of his mechanics to get back to where he was a few years ago. Take a look at this. At home and road, his splits, a 1.13 ERA at home. Amazing numbers.
And his first pitch of the night is off the plate to Jace Peterson. 1 ball, no strikes. And that went right there for a called strike. Talking with John Miller, the Hall of Fame voice of the Giants. 86-88. That's the operating velocity of Tim Lincecum. And he's got that pitch too. Modified split finger that's made all the difference in the world for him as well.
His changeup's always been his out pitch, and it's still a good one. Slider and a curve to go with it.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and a slow roller hit toward Crawford at short. And Peterson's retired on a ground ball for out number 1. Here's a look at the Braves Academy Sports and Outdoors starting lineup. Peterson leads off, Maben and Freeman to follow. Markakis the cleanup man. Uribe at third, Cunningham at left, Simmons, Bethancourt the catcher, and Williams Perez will bat ninth.
Tim Lincecum now 30 years old, 5'11", 170.
Cameron Maben bats and takes ball 1. Got to find a way to score some runs. The Braves have been shut out twice on this road trip. Atlanta scored 2 runs last night, the only 2 runs they've scored in the series. And they have run into a Giants staff that has been dominant in the month of May. They're 15-3 in their last 18 games at AT&T Park. The Giants' ERA over that stretch is an amazing 1.90.
And they are now in first place.
Ahead of the Dodgers, who after a lengthy rain delay are finally in action against the Cardinals in St. Louis. Dodgers having some road problems. They've been shut out in their last 4 road games. 3 of those came here. The pitch to Maben. Belt high strike. It's 2-2.
Lincecum is 9-6 lifetime against Atlanta. An excellent 2.76 ERA. 6-2 here. But he went to work with his dad Chris again over the winter time to try to iron out some mechanics that he had strayed from. One of them was that he had a little too much arm action going on behind his body. It's dragging.
Another out to Panic. He's got it. 2 ground ball outs for Lincecum. Giants defense has been good in this series. They've committed just 26 errors all year. Aoki, Pagan, and Pence left to right. Duffy, Crawford, Panic, and Belt around the horn. And get our first look at Anthony Susak. Buster Posey gets the night off. Figure he'll be in there in the series wrap up tomorrow. Here's Freddie Freeman. Big slow curveball. Strike 1. 20 games in between long balls for Freddie Freeman, but last night's a no-doubter. It was an absolute rope to straightaway center in the 9th inning with 1 out.
Lincecum starts in with back-to-back changeups.
And then heated him up upstairs. Boy, Freddie's really struggling with the strikeout pitch, and Lincecum got him on 3 pitches to end a perfect first inning. It's a very similar lineup for Bruce Bochy. Why not? The only change is Susac, the catcher, in for Buster Posey. Tim Lincecum is the man on the mound. And Williams Perez looking for a win. He's pitched really good baseball in his first 2 starts.
These are his 2 starts and the numbers: 11 innings, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, 13 hits in those 11 innings. But the 2 runs he's given up, 1 has come in each of the first inning of those starts. His 4 keys to pitching success: shocker, first inning. Get through the first inning if you can without any problems. He's given up 4 hits, a walk, and a hit batter in the first inning so far. And help yourself. Get a bunt down tonight. If there's somebody on base in front of you and you're asked to bunt, help yourself. Get that guy into scoring position. Do whatever you got to do to help get some runs on the board.
Nori Aoki will lead off for the Giants. 6th best average in the National League with a .321 mark. And he's reached base in 13 consecutive games for the Giants out of the leadoff spot. Second to D. Gordon in hits. Gordon, of course, the Marlins second baseman, and a strike from Williams Perez.
Perez is low 90s. He'll pop it up sometimes 93, 94. Change up and a slider. Good sinking action on his fastball from that low 3/4 arm slot.
And he's trying to work quickly with 2 strikes. And that missed upstairs. I was really interested in hearing Freddie's comments in his chat with Christina during Braves Live. The term that Freddie used with regards to Perez was trust. Popped out of play. He's seen him pitch a couple of times now, and I think has a much better grip of what this kid is able to do now and the progressions he has made from the bullpen and now as a major league starter.
Yeah, I think he's settling in. He'd much preferred to start. That was pretty apparent when he came up and worked a couple of times out of the pen and did not do well.
To short. Simmons got a friendly bounce off the mound and got Aoki by a half step. There's the first out. Here's the Braves defensive lineup tonight. Left to right in the outfield. Cunningham, Maben, and Markakis. Juan Uribe, the former Giant, back in at third base. Christian Bethancourt is in harness behind the plate. Here's 24-year-old Joe Panik. He's hitting .297. You look up and down this Giant lineup, everybody's flirting with a .300 average. The Giants team hitting .274.
That leads the National League.
In the air toward left center. Cunningham and Maben. It'll be Maben going behind Cunningham and reaching up with a big left hand to haul it in.
Ooh, that was close.
2 out.
Crowd yelling out there, and Cunningham able to jump out of the way right at the last second.
Big cheer for Hunter Pence, who plays in his 15th game since coming back from his fractured forearm. Pence at .273 with a couple of homers. Little dribbler. Tough play, Uribe. That ball changed directions on him, and any chance Juan had was lost on that second bounce. So Pence legs out an infield hit.
That had a lot of spin on it after that first bounce off the beveled edge of home plate. You can see it bounce back toward third base a little bit. And Hunter knew he had a chance at a hit. He never looked back.
That's only his 4th hit at home for Hunter Pence. But he'll take it. He's aboard for Brandon Belt, who's been swinging a hot bat. A lot of home runs for the Giants' first baseman lately, including one here in the opener of the series.
Well, he's given up the little swinging bunt base hit. Got to work out of the stretch in this inning right here. Lefties are hitting him pretty good, but get felt, get out of the inning, Get your offense back up there and get through this first inning.
That's low and outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. First 15 pitches of a game for Williams Perez. He's given up 6 hits collectively this year. Pitches 16 through 60. He's given up 10. So that illustrates the first inning issue that Joe was talking about. Now he's behind Belt. 2 balls and a strike here.
That was a pretty good pitch. Didn't get the call from Lance Barrett.
Balls and a strike. Brandon Crawford's on deck.
I think Pence hurt himself a little bit on that slide back into the bag. I don't know if it was his knee or ankle, but he was fretting over it.
That tied Brandon Belt up, and he fouled it to the left side. Now it's a full count. We'll see how the praying mantis's legs are working right now. He'll be running with 2 outs. There goes Pence. The pitch is down and in. Williams Perez looks into the Braves dugout. Thought that was good enough for strike 3. Instead, it's a 2-out walk.
Came back. That says it just shaved the inside corner. I thought the pitch 2-1 was a better pitch than that one that didn't get called a strike on the outside corner.
Here's the shortstop in the league with the most RBIs, 33 of them for Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, and be careful on the first pitch. He's a little bit like Posey. Likes the first one.
Ball 1. Aoki grounded out. Panic flied out. Pence with an infield hit. Belt with a walk. And now Brandon Crawford, the 5th man to hit in the opening inning. Bouncer to first. Tricky hop. Freeman stayed with it, and that'll retire the side. So one of Joe's Ford keys came to fruition. Perez gets out of first inning trouble, and we're scoreless heading to the second. Our AT&T Uverse trivia question. Tim Lincecum's one of 2 pitchers in Giants history to record 250 or more strikeouts in a single season. Who's the other?
Ooh. Juan Marichal.
San Francisco history.
Gaylord Perry. John Monefusco.
Ooh, the Count. Ooh. That's a great nickname. A lot of good choices on the trivia tonight.
Jason Schmidt.
As Nick Markakis leads things off for the Braves in the third, make it 3-0-1 on the year. That one slapped foul, ran out of play. Didn't get an official temperature at first pitch.
I'll get you one.
However, I'm noticing right below us,
the
vendor has the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. He's got a backpack as Markakis smokes one into right center field for a hit. The vendor has a backpack and he is dispensing Ghirardelli hot chocolate. Now watch this. Well, you can't see from the back. He's got a big old can of whipped cream too.
Hot chocolate keg.
How about that?
How good is that?
Get some garlic fries and hot chocolate. It'll be a fun night at the ballpark with the fans around you here in Frisco.
I got 54 degrees.
54? That sounds about right. And here's Uribe.
Wind out of the west at 19.
Looks about right too. Flag starched, blowing straight out toward the bay. As Uribe bats, 1 for 8 since putting on a Braves uniform, and 236 overall for the year. That missed low. 1 ball, no strikes.
That's the greatest concession type device I've ever seen.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got like a beer tap sort of nozzle.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe go beer keg on the deal next time.
Yeah. Or cherry limeade.
So you can have a draft. Selling draft beer in the crowd.
Be nice. Or in Atlanta, how about a cherry limeade?
To do that too.
Uribe ahead in the count. 2 balls, no strikes. And downstairs.
Lincecum won his last start 8-4 over Milwaukee, but I'd have to say, just reading the line, that he was fairly lucky. He went 5 innings through 90 pitches, gave up 5 hits and 3 walks. 3 of the 5 hits were homers, and he gave up 4 runs, but he won 8-4. But at home, it's been a different story.
Yeah,
his numbers here are crazy.
4-1 with a 1.13 ERA. He's unbeaten in May. One pitch, and that missed high to Uribe, and the Braves have a rally here in the second. 2 on with nobody out.
Dating back to last season, 11-2, a 281 here.
Is it fair to say, Joe, that Tim Lincecum has had to learn how to pitch instead of just rely on the overwhelming stuff that carried him to back-to-back Cy Young awards?
I think he was a good pitcher then, Chip. I think he really was. I mean, he was certainly different than the norm in his delivery, and nothing like anything we'd ever seen before, but no mistake about it. He could pitch then.
And he's doing it with a lot less velocity, I guess is my point. He really has, in a way, had to reinvent himself because he doesn't have 94, 95 often anymore.
No, but it's even, his fastball's better than it was last year because he's gone back to some basics for him.
0-1 to Todd Cunningham. He's cooled at the plate. Todd's got 1 hit in his last 20 tries. And is batting .286 overall this year. Bouncing ball to the right side. Panic's going to go to second, and there's the first out. Uribe went in hard at second base. Markakis moves up to third. Cunningham's aboard at first on the force play, and that'll bring up Andrelton Simmons.
Change up, but he left it up and he got away with one there. Fortunate that Panic could get to that. Good slide by Uribe to make sure there was no chance at 2. Good swap. Cunningham runs well, runs better than Uribe.
Let's see if the Braves think about sending Cunningham here. You know, Anderson makes a lot of contact. With that comes the double play. And he leads the club in that category. The shortstop with a 7-game hitting streak has hit to 12 of the Braves' 37 double plays this year. Todd's got a good lead, not going, and a ground ball. Crawford can't get it. It's off his glove and into center field, and Marquez scores the game's first run. So Simmons with a base hit drives home his 19th man, and Atlanta has scored first.
And snaps Lincecum's home shutout streak. Another curveball that was up and just off the glove of Crawford.
So Lincecum's streak snapped at 23 1/3 innings. And that'll bring up Christian Bethancourt, the Braves catcher, who takes low and outside.
Anderson's now hit in 8 straight games.
Now the Braves enjoy a lead.
Yeah, scored first for a change.
1 ball, 1 strike. This one deep short. Crawford panic for 1 and a first 2. What a double play. Crawford not distracted by a diving Duffy at third base. The Giants turn 2 and allow but 1 in the second inning.
Nothing in just his third start of the season for Williams Perez. Freddie Gonzalez spoke earlier about how he gets more and more comfortable with him the more he runs him out there. He said he's a guy that pitches with his eyes. He watches the hitter's swings and makes adjustments. He's definitely progressed over his outings, and he's gotten out of jams, and he's really been the guy that the Braves has expected him to be since he joined the rotation. Guys.
Yeah, Christina, thank you very much. I think that's what's so fun about watching this Braves staff work. It's the youngest staff in baseball, the way it's currently comprised. And when you see youngsters go to the mound, you don't really know what you're going to get. But what we have seen, whether it's Miller or Fulton-Nevich, they've gotten better and better each time out.
They're figuring some things out on their own. They've got Roger McDowell. They've got A.J. Pierzynski, guys who have been through the wars to kind of answer any questions they might have about if they made right pitch selections and so on. But otherwise, just the experience they're gaining is making them that much better. This guy's arm slot, you know, it's low 3/4. It's just different. Creates some movement on his pitches. Got a good changeup. Doesn't throw as hard as Miller or Fultonevich, but it's different. You know, it's just a different look. And I love his intensity. He's already shown us a lot of emotion.
A fly foul off the bat of Angel Pagan, the Giants center fielder. And the count to Pagan is a ball and 2 strikes. That was one of the more memorable plays of the year back in Atlanta when he spiked the baseball after getting a double play to get out of trouble. No trouble to start the second yet. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And upstairs, even count.
And he shook off Bethancourt 3 times there to get the pitch he wanted. He had a definite idea of what he wanted to do. Good for him.
And they missed outside. The count runs full now. Pagan, Duffy, and Susac for the Giants. 1-0 Braves on an Andrelton Simmons second inning single. And that one is scorched up the middle, a base hit. So Pagan has 4 hits in the series. And Perez got way ahead, couldn't finish off Pagan. Leadoff man aboard in the second.
And that wasn't an awful pitch. It was a good sinker. Pagan had it covered, but he had to make a better pitch with his fastball there, the sinker in this case, because it was 3-2. I liked the 2-2 changeup he threw. It was a good pitch. Pagan lays off, but he doesn't throw that blazing fastball to get away with his fastball 3-2 every time. He's got to try and put him away earlier.
Here's the Giants' third baseman, Matt Duffy. He's been a revelation for them, hitting .294 on the year. 3 homers. He's knocked in 22 runs. And he's made only 3 errors in 37 games. That one to first. Freeman steps on the bag. Throws a laser to Simmons in time to take care of Pagan. How about that double play?
Tell you, Freddie made a good play in the first inning on that ground ball that Crawford hit, because it hit the lip of the grass or a dirt clod or something and just hugged the ground, and he stayed with it. This was a worm burner too, and he gloved it.
So the bases are empty, and that'll bring up Andrew Susac. Susac, a second-round pick by the Giants.
Doesn't get to play a lot, but he's 3 for his last 9.
And they have some flexibility behind the plate. If they want to play Susac back there, they can put Buster Posey at first base if they have to against the real tough lefties. And a 2-0 pitch just missed. A homer, 3 RBIs, and a .227 average. And he lost him on 4 pitches after the double play.
Yeah, that's an inexcusable walk. That's a mental error. Got the double play. Now you got a chance to get out of the inning and have the pitcher lead off the next inning, and you walk the guy on 4 pitches. That's just a mental, flat out mental mistake.
Tim Lincecum is the hitter. No balls and a strike. Lincecum, all of 5'11", 170 pounds. Lives in Seattle. Was born in Bellevue, Washington. Dad's a man who retired from Boeing. He's been instrumental in Tim Lincecum's pitching development since he was a little kid. He built his Wind up from the ground up. A slow roller out towards short. Simmons will flip to second. And Perez pitches around the 2-out walk. 1-0 Atlanta. Williams goes to work in the top of the third next.
Presented by the Georgia Lottery and Toyota.
Don't know if we will ever see a team win 103 games and not make the playoffs. At least not in our lifetimes again. That was the fate of the Giants in '93 when the Braves beat them in the West by one skinny game.
What a comeback that was after the All-Star break. Man, oh man, the Braves played such great baseball.
Perez leads off. 1 ball, no strikes.
This may be an exaggeration because I don't really remember, but it was like the Braves played like 700 or 750 ball.
Really?
Yeah. Second half, it was something to see.
1 ball, 1 strike. Now it's 1-2. Point being, you now have the wild card, and you have the second wild card. You win 103 games, you're going to the playoffs. 1-2 pitch is in the dirt. Susak a nice stop. It's 2-2. Right now, a 2-team race in the National League West. Giants lead the Dodgers by a half game. The Braves start play in third place in the East. 5 games off the lead as Perez is Lincecum's second strikeout victim. 1 out. Go back to the top. Washington won today. They beat Cincinnati 8-5. Miami beat the Mets 9-5. Colorado beat the Phillies 5-2. Cardinals are leading the Dodgers in the 5th, 1-zip. That bounces up there for Peterson. 1 ball, no strikes. Big pitch at the knees evens the count. Somebody's got to cool off the Giants. Hopefully it'll be the Braves tonight. San Francisco's won 6 straight games at home.
What a motion on that changeup. I mean, there's just elbows and kneecaps coming at you. He just jumps at you, and then it's just a great arm action with nothing on it.
1-2 pitch.
And that's what got Freddie Freeman in the first inning. Off-speed stuff. Then he came back 0-2 with a high fastball, and Freddie was so late on it he had no chance.
He's not throwing that fastball at 98, but I'm guessing, Joe, after all those changeups, an 88-mile-an-hour fastball looks exactly like 98.
You've still got to look fastball, though, especially when you're behind in the count. You've got to do your best to adjust from that. because otherwise you won't catch up to it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And that one back where it came from, and Crawford nearly snagged it up the middle. So Jace Peterson has his 3rd hit of the series and the 3rd hit of the night for the Braves.
And his base hit last night was up the middle. That's a good sign. That's a pitch away that he hit back through the middle. He didn't roll over the top of it. He didn't cast his arms out away from his body and try to pull it to the right side and hit another ground ball to second. He hit it back where it's pitched.
Cameron Maybin's the batter. See if the Braves can add to a 1-0 lead.
Susac only 2 out of 13 catching base stealers.
Good stop. 1 ball, no strikes. Time for our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot feature. Cameron Maybin's started every game this month in center.
Great numbers the last 2 weeks, and you can see what it's done to his batting average. And real solid in center field. Made a good catch already tonight to avoid a collision with Cunningham.
Runner goes, swing and a miss. Susac's throw is into center field, and heading for 3rd is Jace Peterson. A steal and a catcher's throwing error. 6 steals for Jace now, and a great chance for the Braves to add another run.
And it may be a sign of more things to come for the Braves on the base paths based on what they saw right there. Infield in.
Maybin showed bunt and apparently pulled the bat back.
I have no idea what that was. Wasn't a squeeze because the runner at 3rd wasn't coming. And that's an odd play to try and bunt with the infield in on your own.
Sharply hit right side. A base hit for Maybin. Scores Peterson. It's 2-0 Atlanta.
That's more like it. I know what that was.
Yes, that was a sharp base hit to right.
Yeah.
And 21 RBIs now for Cameron Maybin.
And a shortened swing. And what's been paying off for him, just trying to shorten up, stay inside the baseball, use the opposite field with the infield drawn in, a base hit. See if he's running.
He's looking for steal number 100. He's got a big lead. Draws a throw. Let me correct something I said earlier. Cincinnati beat Washington, not the other way around. The scoreboard has it here. Washington 8-5. So they've got the score reversed. My mistake. So a chance for the Braves to pick up some ground in the East.
See how he pitches Freddie. They've got the shift on even with a runner at 1st. They just don't have panic out in right field. But anything middle of the plate away, if Freddie early in the count can look for something middle away or down that he can kind of inside out, got the whole left side to work with for a base hit if he wants it.
He rolled over that pitch and pulled it foul past 1st.
Exactly right, Chip. That was just what I was saying. He got the pitch change up that was floating away from him that he could have just served to left field. But right now he is extremely pull happy.
One ball, 2 strikes.
He had a Barry Bonds-like home run here last night that I think was estimated at about 430 to straightaway center. Crushed. We were hoping that might get him going again.
Maben leads. And another ball pulled past first. When Freddie's at his best, he's line to line. I mean, he can drive the ball down the left field line as deeply as anyone in the game in the left-hand batter's box. We have not seen many balls hit that way by him in the last month. And again, he tried to pull that pitch and missed it badly. Freeman's down on strikes for a second time.
Yeah, but think about this. Think about the times we've seen Freddie get a fastball in that should go right by him, but on accident, really, he turns on it. He reacts to it, and he still hits it hard and pulls it. Now he's trying to pull, and when you're doing that and everything's kind of on your heels and you're leaning away from the plate, that doesn't bode well on those off-speed pitches away like that one.
So Nick Markakis, the batter, he singled and scored the first Braves run. Cameron Maben brought home Jace Peterson here in the third. It's 2-0 Braves. And Lincecum's pitch count piling up. Runner goes. Pitch is a strike. Throw to second is late. And Cameron Maben does have number 100. Second steal of the inning for the Braves.
Seven out of 10 for Maben on the year. Just got in there with that hand ahead of the tag. Better throw that time from Susac.
It means a run, perhaps. Pitch and out of play foul. It's 0-2. Nick Markakis now 3 for 3 lifetime against Tim Lincecum. And Cameron Maben having himself a great month. He's knocked in 16 runs in May. He knocked in 15 runs all year last year.
How about that? There he goes.
He's trying to take third. Fly ball to right. That's playable for Hunter Pence. And that retires the side. Braves manufacture a second run. 2 runs, 2 steals, and a big hit by Maben. It's 2-0 Atlanta. Hope you'll join us Wednesday, June 10th for Charlie XCX. We went through it last night. We now know what Charlie XCX means. It's Kiss Charlie Kiss. Right, exactly. Get a field pass for only $20. Go to Braves.com/concert. The Padres will be in town Wednesday, June the 10th. Here's Nori Aoki. He bounced out to short. Williams Perez now leads by 2. And a big sliding strike to Aoki. play 0-2.
If I were Joe Panic, and this guy hits, I know you got to have somebody in the on-deck circle, but I would petition for a screen or something to stand behind in the on-deck circle.
That ball bounced off the side of the mound again. Almost an identical play for Aoki here in the third inning as to what took place in his first at bat. 2 ground outs to short.
Yeah, if you weren't with us, Charlie XCX, we now have Freddie OFO. As Christina straightened us out for Freddie Freeman, if X's are kisses, then hugs are O's. So there's Freddie OFO.
He could use a few O's right now because times are tough for him at the plate. As Joe Panic takes a strike.
He could. But the symbolic O, yes, he's got plenty of O's working.
Yeah, well,
lately.
that's a good point. Here's Panic, and he takes another strike. This is what we like about Williams Perez. He is very confident, I think, on the mound. He doesn't do a whole lot of nibbling. After he gets out of that first inning, he's been able to get on a roll. Well, with Bethancourt back there tonight, he scattered a couple of hits, 2 walks, no strikeouts.
His first start, he gave up a run in the first. His teammates got him back even in the third inning, and he came out after 5. Got a no decision. The Braves got a run in the 6th and beat the Rays 2-1. How about that pitch? Great changeup.
First strikeout.
His start against the Dodgers, he gave up a run in the first. The Braves tied it in the 4th. Took the lead in the 5th. He came out after 6. And the Dodgers tied it in the 7th and scored 4 in the 8th, and he got another no decision.
Potter Pence had an infield hit with 2 outs in the first, and he's quickly behind a strike. That bounced foul now. 0-2.
I just love the way he's pitching with confidence. You can't wait to get the ball back from Bethancourt to throw another pitch.
I can't wait to watch all these young kids pitch, to be honest with you, all of them. Julio's in a rough patch right now.
High target.
He missed with it. And that's what's so exciting about the Braves ball club. Their pitching's young. It's very, very talented. And they're learning on the job. They're pitching very well on this road trip. Fly ball shallow center. Maben's underneath that, and he's got it, and Perez is out of the third inning. He leads by a pair as we move to the 4th.
Enter now for a chance to win round-trip airfare anywhere Delta flies in the continental United States, 2-night hotel accommodations, and $250 spending cash. Enter on your mobile devices or computer at foxsports.com/south/Delta. Good luck.
Williams Perez looking good tonight for a capacity crowd at AT&T Park. They shoehorn him in any way they can on this very small parcel of land in the China Basin in downtown San Francisco. Uribe takes a strike as we head to the fourth.
Now that walkway out there along the water, along McCovey Cove, fans can come into the area where you're seeing there below the scoreboard. Think stop and watch the game. Do they have a time limit, or can they pay to get in there and stay there the rest of the game?
I don't think they can stay the whole game. I think they can stay for 3 innings or so, and then they bring in the next group of folks.
Wave them in, wave them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 ball, 1 strike. That's kind of what's cool about San Diego's ballpark. They've got the beach beyond the fences and the whole grassy berm out beyond center field. It's like a $5 ticket. Get in there and have a picnic and watch the game on TV.
Look at that spot down the right field line. It's like an opera box.
Yeah. Opera?
Sailing and opera, okay?
2-2 pitch. Line down the left field line by Uribe. He's thinking about 2. And he's going to glide into second base with a leadoff double. Tim Lincecum is not pitching like Tim Lincecum has been here at AT&T Park. That's a milestone double for Uribe.
Another breaking ball, and there have been a couple that he's given up. A couple of hits on the breaking ball. That one was down a little more than the one before, but Uribe adjusted and ripped it. Chance to get another run.
His 300th big league double. Here's Cunningham. Bounced into a force play his first time and bunts it foul. Strike 1.
Okay. I know what he's trying to do here. Obviously, he's trying to get that guy over. If you want to do that, bunt for a hit, drag it with you. Pull it to the right side. Don't run the risk of it dying in that wet mud right in front of home plate. Try to get on yourself with a drag bunt just like you would if you were trying to drive him in.
Duffy in on the grass. Lincecum fakes to second to see if Todd would tip his hand. He didn't. Wind swirling at the ballpark. Looks like it's blowing straight out toward right. 0-1 pitch. On the corner. 0-2.
Let's check it out on our PNC Bank Fox Tracks. Never had the plate. Lance Barrett said otherwise. Todd Cunningham knew it. He kind of was frustrated with the call. But this is where Lincecum can kind of dial it up. Unless he makes a mistake, he's got so many weapons to go to, whether it's the changeup, breaking ball, or his fastball.
He's about to throw his 60th pitch. And it's a roller to the right side. It'll be a productive at bat for Cunningham.
Great job.
Uribe to third with 1 out. And Todd gets the high five from Terry Pendleton and the rest of his mates as he makes his way to the first base dugout.
You bet. That was a great job after getting behind 0-2. Well done, young man.
So happy days for Mr. Cunningham.
Oh, man.
Has it
really?
Wait a minute. You're talking about opera and Chardonnay and the sloops out there. I got to take care of Todd. Here's Andrelton. And inside, 1 ball, no strikes. Well, another run here would be nice. Bottom part of the order. Uribe started with a double. He's 90 feet away for the Braves shortstop. served foul to the right side. 8 o'clock here in San Francisco. Glad you're with us. Our final game of the series comes your way tomorrow. Great matchup. Julio Teheran and Madison Bumgarner.
12 sacrifice flies for the Braves so far on the year. Another one here would be nice.
That shot foul.
Yeah, he's a little behind the average there on this situation. An RBI here would help the cause.
But he struck out. Lincecum has 4 strikeouts. That's a big one.
Big one.
Now my guess is they'll work around Bethancourt or pitch him very carefully at the least before you have the pitcher waiting on deck.
High fastball above his hands. But you're right, that is a luxury they have right now, so they don't have to throw Bethancourt a strike.
And they didn't with the first pitch.
You know, I think if I'm Christian and aware of that, I got to think middle away. I got to really think about something off speed, just guess something off speed, perhaps away. And lay off anything hard.
They couldn't that time. It's even 1 ball, 1 strike. Perfect pitch. Lincecum has him set up.
That was the one he wanted. That was a slider that didn't do much. A short one.
Line drive into left field. A base hit by Bethancourt. That brings home Uribe. A big hit for the Braves catcher. It's 3-0.
What you need to see here on this replay is the catcher. Susac is trying to give him a target like he wanted it. I think he was showing him down with his off-speed pitch. See right there, he's like saying, right here, keep it down. But it was a change-up that stayed up, and Susac drops his head. Lincecum bends over on his knees. Another mistake. The Braves made him pay. Good clutch hitting by Christian.
So they decide to pitch to the Braves catcher with Perez on deck, and it costs the Giants a run. Now it's 1-0 to Williams Perez, who's been stoked to a 3-0 lead.
That makes Simmons feel a little better. He gets picked up by his teammate.
Two balls and a strike. It sounded like you hit that ball twice.
Did it? He hit it. It's because he hit it so late it went right off of Susac's glove.
It was like click, click.
Yeah.
And a swing and a miss takes care of Atlanta in the 4th inning. But Juan Uribe with the leadoff double. He comes home on Bethancourt's single, and the Braves extend their lead. Morgan leads the U.S. women's national team against the best teams in the world in search of their third World Cup title. The only place you can see the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup is on Fox and Fox Sports 1 beginning June 6th.
And as we keep telling you, the women's U.S. team represented strongly by a couple of girls from the South. I know at least 2 girls from Georgia are on the team. I'm not sure if there are some. There might be one from North Carolina too. So some good representation from Braves country on the U.S. women's team.
They played South Korea in a friendly match today, and that was a scoreless draw. It's a technical soccer term. They don't tie, they draw.
So you don't even say 0-0 or
you can, but that's, you know, you don't want to be snooty.
Well, it'd be bad because if there's a girl named Nell on the team, you might think
problems.
She might think you were saying her name.
Yeah, right.
Instead of Nell.
Right. So a scoreless draw in the World Cup. Hey, congratulations to our colleague Jen Hildreth. She's on her way to Vancouver. She'll be doing a lot of play-by-play for the Fox Sports coverage. As that ball took a funny bounce and Freeman stayed with it, and with the toe stepped on the first base bag and may have stepped on Williams Perez. There have been a couple of really odd hops on the infield in this game, and Freeman hung with that one.
And from up here, when that came off his glove, I thought it went to his left, but it did hit his leg to keep it in front of him. And now 3 very large bodies converging on a very small piece of property.
So Belt's retired. Bethancourt out to give Perez a breather, and this is Brandon Crawford. Williams Perez is getting after it tonight. He's up 3-0. He's 2-hit the Giants so far. As Joe showed you on his 4 keys, if this kid can get out of the first inning consistently, he's got stuff that can shut down an opposing club. He's done that to this point.
He's throwing strikes. That walk in the second inning, the 4-pitch walk, the only one he has to be upset about.
Roller foul out of play for the man that's our T-Mobile game changer, Giants shortstop Brandon Crawford.
Well, I said this about him in game 1 if you were with us. That shows you how hot he's been recently in his career numbers against the Braves. But I think he's developed into the best all-around shortstop in the National League, if not in Major League Baseball, when you take in consideration defense and offense. And that's with all due respect to Troy Tulowitzki, who is not the defender this guy is.
And hasn't been able to stay on the field.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate for Tulo.
No question still in my mind that Andrelton's the best defensive player at any position in the game. But this guy all around, he's really made himself into a good player.
And it's really a big jump offensively for him. This kid hit .248 in back-to-back seasons, hit .246 last year. He's hitting .300 now. That's over the inside corner. Ooh. Crawford backed up, and so did that pitch. 2 strikeouts for Perez, 2 out.
Exactly right. It did back up. Look at that thing move. A little style form there. Look at Williams. That was almost a baseball type Heisman pose.
Yeah. Someday they might have a statue of Williams Perez outside the ballpark. Looked just like that.
That was a great pitch.
Brings up Angel Pagan. One ball, no strikes. To the left side. Anderson's got it. Gets rid of it in a hurry. And Perez is rolling merrily along. Through 4 innings, he leads 3-0. And the top of the order coming up for Atlanta. they do paint that bridge every year. They have work crews 365 days a year maintaining that incredible engineering marvel. And they go from one end of the bridge to the next. It takes them a full year to maintain it and paint it. And December 31st comes, they get to the other side, they load up their stuff and go right back to the other end.
It's kind of like Forrest Gump.
Right.
I got the one ocean, I turned around, ran back to the other one.
Fly ball by Chase Peterson toward the gap, and that's going to get to the fence. Chase Peterson has a second hit against Tim Lincecum, who has been very ordinary so far tonight.
Well, that's something Jace has got to continue to do. He's gotten a couple of hits in this series up the middle. Now something off speed down and away. He didn't roll over the top of it. He didn't try to pull it. Winds up with a double in the gap. Great sign for him.
So he's 2 for 3 with his third double. And let's see if Braves can keep on adding on. Cameron Maybin, the batter. Told you last time up, Maybin knocked in his 16th run this month. He had 15 RBIs all season last season. This one's popped up a mile high on the right side. That's going to be playable for Brandon Belt. And he's got it at the edge of the grass. Not what Maybin wanted to have happen. Unproductive out for the first of the inning.
Sometimes when you're trying to hit the ball the other way, as a right-handed hitter, and he was trying to do the right thing, but the barrel of the bat might drop a little bit. You kind of jam yourself, and that might result in a pop-up. See if Freddie can drive him in.
Giants bullpen is stirring, as Freeman does hit one the other way. A little dribbler into left. Here comes Peterson around third. There'll be no throw. Freddie Freeman bloops one to left. He drives home his 25th man, and it's a 4-0 Braves game.
And he steps up and kind of picks up his teammate, in this case, Cameron Maybin. Breaking ball, stayed up. He has not had a good breaking ball tonight. And in this case, Freddie was just trying to hit the ball the other way with that big opening on that side. Paid off for him.
So Peterson scored 2 runs. Markakis has scored. Uribe has scored. And George Contos begins to warm up for San Francisco. Back-to-back rough outings for Tim Lincecum. He was the beneficiary, as Joe said, of enormous run support against Milwaukee last time out. That hasn't been the case tonight.
He just has the Braves have kind of looked for any mistakes in his off-speed stuff tonight. It hadn't really been the changeup as much as it's been the curveball.
So 4-0 for Markakis, who takes letter high. During the Giants' 6-game home winning streak, they've outscored their opponents 24-4 coming into play tonight. The Braves have scored 4 runs in the first 5 innings in Game 3 alone.
Now 4 of those games have been shutouts, 3 against the Dodgers.
His shutout streak came to an end in St. Louis. They're leading the Cardinals now 4-1. That's up and away to Markakis. 2 balls and a strike. Giants would like to get Lincecum through this inning. Pitcher spot is due third when they bat in the bottom of the 5th. And right now he doesn't have a go-to pitch that he can get a strike with. 3-1. Lincecum pitched a 1-2-3 first. He's had to labor ever since. And another walk. A double, a pop out, a single, and a base on balls. And that is going to be the end of the line for Tim Lincecum. The Giants right-hander goes only 4 1/3 innings. And his long win streak in May is in serious jeopardy tonight. He's 4-0 in May, but he's trailing 4-0 midway through in Game 3 tonight. With 4 runs and 8 hits. And that's the California Hornblower, one of the ferry boats that gets folks to and from AT&T Park. Time for our Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Coors Light.
Head-to-head last 14 games, the one that jumps out at me, 19 homers to 6. And the ERA, of course, as the Giants have dominated the Braves over the last 14 ball games. Brought to you by Coors Light, my beer.
And here's the Giants' George Contos. Grew up a big Cub fan out of Lincolnwood, Illinois. He's got a couple of World Championship rings here in San Francisco. And he faces off with Juan Uribe, who takes inside. Ball 1.
This guy's talking earlier about throwing to pitching. This guy's become more of a pitcher. He throws hard. He's got a fastball and a cutter. Low 90s, sometimes up to 93, and a good slider. But when he first came up, he was just kind of a blazer. And Hunter Strickland is kind of in that mode too. They're trying to make him realize you don't have to throw every pitch 98. You'll be a lot more effective if you mix in a little two-seamer and a changeup once in a while and then use your 98. Same thing for Contos. He's just kind of taken to it a little faster than Strickland.
2 on, 1 out for the Braves, and Juan Uribe, who's doubled tonight. And a little tapper left side. Duffy's got it. He'll make the peg to first. And Uribe advances the runners. And now they're 2 out. You don't want to mess with George Contos. Majored in economics at Northwestern University before being drafted by the Yankees. This guy's a workout fanatic and a big martial arts practitioner.
Well, he's got a black belt on tonight. I don't know if that's a sign.
6'3", 215 pounds. Faces down Todd Cunningham. And downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes.
Todd did a good job last inning after falling behind, but getting the runner over from second base to set up a 2-out RBI hit by Bethancourt. So maybe he'll get rewarded here.
Bouncing ball foul. As I said earlier, the pitcher spot's coming up third in the bottom of this inning. Contos in the past has been able to work multiple innings for the Giants, so down 4 runs, maybe Bruce Bochy will leave him in and hope that his offense can come back against Williams, Perez, and for the Braves bullpen. So far, Williams has been terrific. Just 2 hits allowed in the first 4 times to the mound tonight. Jammed it. Duffy charges, gloves, grabs, and guns him out. Contos puts out the fire, a couple of ground outs. The Braves get a run in the 5th, and that lead 4-zip. The #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or your tablet. Braves country well represented in San Francisco this weekend. And Williams Perez representing the pitching staff exceptionally well. He is not allowed a run to the Giants, and he moves to inning number 5.
Chip, you had that good note, though, on the starting pitching for this road trip. Starting pitching, with the exception of 1 game, has been excellent.
They've all given up 1 run in each of the other 4 starts besides Julio Teheran's on the road trip. Perez has done better than that. He's allowed nothing. And to your point in the pregame, bullpen had held up its end of the bargain. A few more hits here and there. The Braves might be talking about a winning road trip at this point.
They might be 4-1 instead of 1-4.
So Duffy leads off and takes high for an even count. Yusmeiro Petit is down in the Giants bullpen. So for the moment it looks like it'll be a 2/3 of an inning outing for Contos. Popped up by Duffy. Deep short. Simmons goes out. And Cameron Maybin calls everybody off and puts it away for the first out. And here's Susak.
Another hard thrower. Petit getting ready.
Susak walked. Maxwell's on deck. He'll hit for Contos. Let me correct myself. On this road trip, they've had 3 one-run outings by the starters. 1 2-run outing. That was Fultonevich last night.
Okay.
And then the Teheran outing. Let me get that right. But still, the point is 4 of the 5 pitching performances, not counting tonight, have been spectacular for the Braves. One ball, 2 strikes to the Giant catcher, and that's dribbled right out in front of the plate, and that's fair ball. Susak didn't run, and he's tagged out.
That won't go over well with these fans. They don't like that. I don't know if he lost sight of the baseball.
Did you see that ball hit? I mean, it almost cratered in the dirt. Like you said, that very muddy, soft dirt. It actually hit behind the plate and rolled fair. So Justin Maxwell will hit for Contos. He had 2/3 of an inning scoreless. And that's off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. Shelby Miller, 7 innings of 1-run ball in game 1. Foltynewicz, 6 2/3 innings of 5-hit 2-run baseball last night. Williams Perez, 4 1/3 innings of 2-hit ball in game 3.
I loved what Foltynewicz was doing last night. He was just battling.
And Maxwell with a pinch hit single with 2 outs. That's the first Giant hit since the 2nd inning.
7th inning last night, Foltynewicz struck out the side, but 2 of the guys reached on breaking balls in the dirt that got away, and he was still throwing 98-99. One of the first mistakes tonight upstairs made by Perez on a breaking ball that hung up for Maxwell.
It is always fun to ask other organizations what they think of your players. As Aoki bats and bounces 1 to first. Big hop for Freddie Freeman. He's got it. And the Giants have been very, very impressed with the Braves pitching in rotation so far in this series. We're through 5. It's all Atlanta. Tuesday, June 9th, when the Padres come to town. The first 20,000 fans at Turner Field will get that great-looking gift. Get your tickets today. Go online to Braves.com/tickets. Yusmeiro Petit is on to pitch for San Francisco as this game moves to the 6th inning. This is his 15th game. He has made 1 start. Apparently, Joe, it's been a while since he's been in a game.
Well, he did that last year. 39 games, 12 starts. He threw 117 innings last year, just 22 walks, 133 strikeouts. So he's kind of a swing guy for them, in and out of the rotation. 30 years old, out of Maracaibo, Venezuela, 6'1", 250.
It's been 6 days since he pitched. The reason for that, he started game 2 of the doubleheader in Colorado on Saturday. He took the loss, gave up 4 runs in 6 innings at Coors Field.
Fastball, cutter, sits around 87 to 90. Curveball and changeup. That looked like the change there to Anderton.
He's got a really dramatic home road batting average split. This year at AT&T Park, Petit's opposing hitters have just 3 hits against him. On the road, he's allowed a .326 batting average. Ground ball towards second. Panic to his right. Perfect throw, 1 out. So hitters at home, 3 for 27 now against Petit, 23 for 82 on the road.
Well, needless to say, pitchers love working here. Big, vast yard from deep left center around to right field.
Here's Christian Bethancourt. He's got an RBI hit. He's also hit into a double play. They served that one out of play for a strike. A lot of great features in this ballpark. Obviously, Mother Nature creates the beautiful palette. San Francisco Bay and McCovey Cove, all the palm trees. Big baseball glove in left, as you see. As that one's lined to short. Easy play for Crawford. 2 out. Kids have a great time in this park too. This is a very fan-friendly place to watch a ball game. Inside that Coca-Cola bottle, there are a couple of slides, so the kids can climb up the stairs, go to the top, and scoot down. You see, there's a youngster going up the ramp.
Yeah, and you can slide down, you know, just like you would any other slide, or I think they have palettes up at the top you can slide down on too.
They very well could. What's wrong with you? Anyway, they got a wiffle ball field out there too.
Palette got me. I got stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Strike one to Perez. That's a good pitch. It's 0-2.
It is just a great ballpark. I mean, you can walk foul pole to foul pole out there and get food, be entertained, watch the game, watch the sailboats.
Petit couldn't come up with it, couldn't find it.
Hey, that's a base hit. That's his first hit, first big league hit.
And it looked like it hurt too. It did.
It's the first major league hit for Perez. First major league hit for Perez.
Right off the end of the bat. Tried a little blind backhand. There it is.
So Peterson bats and takes high. 2 hits, 2 runs for the Braves leadoff man Jace Peterson tonight.
Congratulations to Williams. Still shaking his right hand.
Huh. There's a strike.
See, look at the way they're playing Jace Peterson even after the double to left center. They got Crawford way up the middle to try to take the middle away from him. So essentially there's just one guy on the left side of the diamond. I've said before, Jace is the only one that can prevent that from happening, just like Freddie. You got to be able to use the whole field and not get into a rut of trying to pull the ball, and lately he hasn't, at least in this series.
He can't zip up the jacket because he's got the gloves on, or the zipper's broken.
He's saying forget it.
One ball, one strike. And these fans in Frisco know all about trying to zip up the jacket with the mittens on. It's cold here at night.
Yeah, you and I, the last, including tonight, 3 games, we sit up here, the wind's blowing out, so it doesn't come in our face. We're comfortable up here in the press box, but we go downstairs after the game.
You could hang meat in that.
Yeah, it is a different story. That wind is cold and biting.
Well, at the old ballpark, fans really suffered. It was a miserable place to sit through. They actually gave the fans an award if they made it through the game called the Croix de Candlestick. It was like a military insignia, like a Purple Heart that fans would put on their jackets if they could make it through 9 innings on a really cold night. But when it gets to late August and September, it's absolutely beautiful here. In the evening time, runner goes, and a swing and a miss, and that retires the side. Williams Perez picks up his first big league hit. He's also looking for his first big league win. He's got a 4-0 advantage in the 6th.
It's 4-0 here in the bottom of the 6th, and as the Braves starting pitcher Williams Perez gets his first big league hit. Earlier today, I talked to A.J. Przinsky about working with these young pitchers. Mike Foltynewicz last night, Williams Perez. He said it's been a lot of fun seeing them grow and seeing them make adjustments and really have new experiences day in and day out. New ballparks. He says he thinks Mike Foltynewicz got a really big rush last night pitching in this ballpark with this atmosphere, all the electricity here. And obviously, Williams Perez is not fazed by it at all. Maybe he's on his way tonight, guys, to his first career big league win.
You know, Christina, that's a really good point. And that point about pitching in this atmosphere. Well, this is 352nd straight sellout here. This is a very loud crowd. They're on top of you. But just coming up from the minor leagues and pitching in front of huge crowds like this, that's very intimidating.
Yeah, general managers talk about that all the time. It's the second or third deck syndrome. When you get to the big league ballparks, and you see all those people, sometimes guys who are exceptionally talented just wither or wilt. That hasn't been the case for Williams Perez. He starts the inning with Joe Panik, and Panik missed the change. 1 ball, 1 strike. Panik is 0 for 2. He is flied out and struck out. And that's inside. Ball 2.
Keep in mind, Perez was the pitcher of the month in April in Gwinnett. He was 2-0 with a 1.57 ERA.
And I wonder if that's a hard thing to remember too. Same dimension, different hitters, same baseball, all that stuff in AAA as opposed to the major leagues. And he just lost Joe Panik, the leadoff man.
And he aimed that one.
There's a blemish tonight. It's the 3 walks. And the big bats are coming up.
The first one wasn't a bad walk. It was a 2-out walk to Brandon Belt with a runner at first. But the 2-out walk to the number 8 hitter in the second inning was not a good one, and the leadoff walk certainly not a good one.
That brings up Hunter Pence, who's 1 for 2. And that caught a corner. Strike 1. Game number 16 for Hunter Pence since coming off the DL. And That missed. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Got him to fly out on a breaking ball last time around.
Double play ball. You can turn it quickly. There's one. There's a throw late to first. But you know what I liked about that play? Look at what Jace Peterson did. He came across the bag to try to handle that throw from Simmons, and there was no chance at all for panic to try to wipe him out.
Change up off the end of the bat. Andrelton got a little bit of an in-between hop here, so he had to make sure he caught it. And right you are, Chip Caray. Nice move across the bag. Good to see for Jace.
So Belt bats with a man at first and 1 man out. He's walked and he's grounded out, and now he's down a strike. Perez has been efficient. He's thrown just 75 pitches in the game. He has struck out 2. He has walked 3 and has allowed just 3 hits. Another chance. Peterson can't knock it down. That's into right center field, and Pence is on his way to third. Brandon Belt finds a hole, and they're at the corners with 1 out.
Good pitch. Got the ground ball. Just didn't get it hit at anyone.
So for Perez, the first time he's had any trouble since the first inning. That threat came with 2 outs. Now they're at first and third with 1 out. Crawford's the hitter. 16 RBIs for Crawford in his last 14 games. We showed you that on our T-Mobile Game Changer feature an inning ago or so. And he took a shot to left and fouled it into the upper deck. Strike 1.
He was a 4th-round draft pick out of UCLA, and he's a good-sized guy for a shortstop. 6'2", 215.
Well, that's an area where the game's changed, isn't it? Now thinking wide. And off the end of the bat, it's 0-2. Just remember that 5'10", 5'11", 165-pound guys, little acrobats out there at shortstop. Not that many of those guys left. So Perez, after the hit, goes right after Crawford, has him behind 0-2. And just struck him out. What a sequence for Williams Perez. Ice water in his veins. There's the second out.
That was outstanding. Away, away, change up, even farther away. And in that particular case, Crawford very antsy to try to get that hit to drive in a run, and expanded his strike zone. Big out.
Angel Pagan is 1 for 2.
Tough out here, though.
Luis Avilan's grabbed a baseball, and he jogs down to the Braves bullpen mound in right field.
Well, at 80 pitches, it'd be nice to get this out quickly and have no trouble going back out to the 7th.
1-0 count. Change up a beauty. He took it.
I'll say. Goes from about 90 on his fastball, sometimes 91 tonight, to 78 or 9 on the changeup.
Not too many high stress pitches for Perez tonight. And that one close, but missed outside. 2 balls and a strike.
And his motion on his changeup is so good because of the way he throws that glove out at you, and kind of, it's a fast arm action, but his changeup is like a circle change. The ball comes kind of out of the side of his hand. Oh, good try. Again, Pagano tough out.
Duffy is on deck. The Giants have Buster Posey lurking on their bench. 2 on, 2 out. 3 balls and a strike. Marlins rallied to fill it up.
All right, be smart here. Don't try to trick him. I mean, a changeup's been a great pitch for you tonight. But don't walk him. Make him put the ball in play. If he drives in 1 run, okay. But don't bring the tying run to the plate after a walk.
Runner at first goes. The pitch is bounced towards second. Peterson gets the in-between hop and makes the peg to first, and Williams Perez rallies to finish the inning. Impressive work from Williams Perez. He's fired 6 shutout innings at the Giants. And that sequence with Brandon Crawford, awfully impressive for the Braves rookie righty.
Presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day.
That's the San Francisco Bell.
Well, she's all lit up. Nothing like the river boats around here, huh?
It's amazing.
The old paddle wheelers.
The old paddle wheelers make a beautiful palette on the waterfront here. With all the sloops and sailboats and the trolley cars. As Cameron Maben leads off. 7th inning already. Boy, Williams Perez has been dazzling. Braves have chased Tim Lincecum. Giants righty gave up 4 runs in his 4 1/3 innings. And Atlanta's trying to ruin his perfect May. He was 4-0 this month coming into tonight's action. 1 ball, 2 strikes from Petit to Maben. San Francisco, a 6-game home winning streak in jeopardy, as is their hold on first place. The Dodgers are beating the Cardinals in St. Louis 5-1.
Maybe he's got a new jacket with a zipper. Oh, they're showing him. See, now you put that.
Deep short, Crawford, nice pick. Look at the arm. 1 out.
He's a dandy. Fans here love it. Well, I tell you what, when he planted his foot, there wasn't much sliding going on either. And got a fast runner.
Not sure where he ranks in the All-Star game voting, but you know his manager, Bruce Bochy, is going to do what he can to get as many of his Giants on the National League roster.
Strong throw.
Shift on for Freddie Freeman. 2 strikeouts for Freddie, and then a soft base hit to the left side in the 5th inning that brought home a run. Took a shot at left, skied it foul. It's 0-2. Swing and a miss. 3 strikeouts for Freeman tonight. He's in one of those stretches where, as you suggested earlier, maybe a day off might do him some good.
I think it would. I mean, that wasn't anywhere near a strike.
You got Madison Bumgarner pitching tomorrow. That might be a perfect place to sit him down. He's nasty against everybody, but especially left-handed batters. Here's Markakis. Nick's 1 for 2 with a run, a walk, and a fly ball out to right. I think somebody spilled some hot chocolate in their lap. You hear him screaming down below us?
Yeah. And they just have that hot chocolate spigot running on them.
Standard defensive alignment for the Giants as Markakis hits it right to the shortstop. Crawford has it, and that'll end the inning. 7th inning stretch at AT&T Park. Atlanta is shutting out the Giants. A 4-hit shutout, and boy, oh boy, the young right-hander's having himself a big night. He's our Toyota key player of the game.
And he's made good pitches when he's needed them. Good fastball there to start a 3-6 double play. Racked up some strikeouts. Backed one up there on Crawford for a strikeout. Into the back grounder from Hunter Pence. He's had all kinds of great movement tonight. 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. And his first big league hit.
This would be a great time for him to have another easy inning. If he can get 3 outs in this 7th inning, that sets things up very nicely for the Braves relief corps, which is beginning to work in the bullpen down the right field line. 4-0 Braves. Duffy, Susac, and then the pitcher is due.
Yeah, bottom part of the order. Get after him. No walks.
He's had excellent control of that changeup all night.
And watching that replay in the slow motion against on the strikeout of Crawford, that was some kind of an attempt, I think, at like a backdoor breaking ball that didn't break. It was just slow and just kind of hung out there and never came into the plate. and he still swung through it.
Well, the old sayings, a pitch so bad it was good.
Yeah,
might have been the way you described that one. As a 2-2 is on the way, and it's jammed out towards second. Tricky spin. Peterson makes the play, and Duffy's retired for out number 1.
Now there was an interesting reminder from Christian right before that pitch, and he patted the top of his glove, and I don't know what that means, but I'm going to guess it means stay on top of that sinker he threw, because sometimes if you drop down too far, the sinker flattens out and stays up in the zone. But right here, see that? Stay on top. If that's what that meant, he did, and got an out of it on a good pitch.
Gregor Blanco grabs the bat. He will hit for the Giants pitcher Yusmeiro Petit, as Andrew Susac is quickly in an 0-2 hole. Four runs on 9 hits for the Braves. No runs, 4 hits for the Giants. Susac's committed the game's only error. That was a throwing error on a Jace Peterson stolen base sequence back in the 3rd. Braves with single runs in the 3rd, 2nd, 4th, and 5th. And that's ripped toward the Giant pen. 1-2. It's 9 o'clock in San Francisco. Braves trying to get on the board in this series. And that's outside. Hard to believe, but in the last 13 road games in Western Division ballparks, the Braves have won one of those games.
Yeah, that's not very good, is it?
Looking good tonight. 2-2 pitch missed. And a full count.
It's the guy who walked back in the 2nd inning with 2 out, nobody on. Don't do it here with 1 out. Make him swing it.
He didn't, and Bethancourt out for a chat. So Blanco will be the batter. Runner at first with 1 out. And here are the disappointing numbers for the Braves out west.
2 runs a game, not enough. ERA very high. Bullpen even worse. Not hard to figure out how that adds up to a 1-12, is it?
So Petit, 2 strikeouts, a hit in his 2 innings of relief. And Gregor Blanco will pinch hit. Change up strike. Blanco at 276 for the year. He's 3 for 10 as a pinch hitter. In fact, he has the most pinch hit appearances of any Giant. And that one's yanked toward the Braves bullpen. Donnie Veal on guard duty made the basket catch.
We talked about Gregor Blanco opening night about how he has made himself into a good player. He's made himself into a tough out. He's always been a good outfielder. But he has admitted that when he was with the Braves, he wasn't very smart. He had guys like Omar Infante, Martin Prado trying to help him, teach him some things, and he said, I was very hard-headed. You know, thought I knew it all, didn't need to listen to anybody, and regret that. You know, I really wasted some good opportunities and wasted some time there, and it took him a while to figure that out. But boy, he's found a home here.
Can't think of a better place with the Giants. Or Gregor Blanco is in a 2-strike hole with man aboard and 1 out. And low. 1-2. Perez over 100 pitches now. He threw 106 last time out. That's the most he's thrown as a starting pitcher this year at any level.
Love to see him get a ground ball and get through this inning, though.
That's foul and into the Braves bullpen.
I think that got a piece of first base coach Bill Hayes.
Yeah, it did. kick save and a beauty.
Maybe got the shin guard.
Boy, first glance, he looks a lot like Bruce Bochy from a distance. Doesn't he? With the goatee, fly ball to center. And Maven's got that. So Blanco flies out, 2 are out, and Nori Aoki is the batter. Aoki is 0 for 3. Bruce Bochy, Freddie Gonzalez matching wits tonight. One ball, no strikes. In the air again toward Maven. He's slowing. He's got it. Williams Perez is through 7.
That away, kid.
Our 4-hitter, and we go to the 8th. After the game on Saturday, June 20th, for a free post-game concert that's presented by Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines. VIP field and backstage passes are available. Get here early to see Young Jock perform in the Braves Fan Plaza 2. Get your tickets today at braves.com/concerts. Before we tell you about the Giants' changes, let's get back to our trivia question tonight. AT&T Uverse asks, Tim Lincecum's one of 2 pitchers in San Francisco history to record 250 strikeouts in a year. Who's the other?
I'm going to go away from the Hall of Famers and go with Jason Schmidt.
All right, I'm going to go with Mike Krukow, who's our pal.
That's a good call.
Working in the booth next door. Great pitcher in his day, and you are right. 251 of them.
Bingo.
Man, oh man. You are hotter than a dancing bobcat.
Sure am.
Or a Ghirardelli hot chocolate, whichever comes first. Gregor Blanco stays in the game to play left, and Gene Machi is on to pitch the 8th inning, and he's been hit hard lately for San Francisco.
Yeah, Machi's palette, it features a fastball, slider, and a split. But he throws hard.
Yeah, that's right in there for a strike. Last appeared 6 days ago. Well, that was Petit. Machi was 5 days ago, I beg your pardon, through 2 2/3 innings Sunday against the Rockies. Last 9 outings, 9 earned runs. Uribe has walked and doubled. And he's got a single to right. So Uribe has a couple of knocks. Had a good start for the Braves in the 8th. Looking for a little more tonight. Get greedy. Todd Cunningham bats. One area where Machi has been successful is against lefties. They're just 3 for 32 at the plate against him.
Probably because of that split. He throws it a lot.
Ball 2. Machi didn't get to the big leagues until he was 30 years old. 2 balls, no strikes. Toiled a long time in the Giants and Phillies farm systems. In fact, was actually loaned to the Mexican League. He asked to go pitch in Mexico so he could get more work. Giants said, great, go ahead. Got to Fresno in 2012, and then in September made his major league debut. 387 minor league games before he sniffed the big leagues. Cunningham tries to protect the runner Uribe and did. It's a stolen base and a swinging strike.
Second stolen base of the year for Uribe. Third of the night for Atlanta. 1 for Peterson, 1 for Maben, and now Uribe.
So let's see if Todd Cunningham can bring him around. Runner at second, nobody out. We're in the top of the 8th. And that was tipped and caught. Cunningham's down on strikes.
Gosh.
Is that the split?
It was, but it's just the fact that the ball found the glove and stayed in there on the foul tip. That is the split finger. Ooh, that may have hit the dirt. And that's what Freddie's out there asking.
Hey, look at what Machi's doing. He's rubbing up that baseball as fast as he can to take any dirt off the ball. But there'll be no argument apparently. Or will there?
That was a good catch by Machi on your part, Chip, to see him rubbing up the baseball. That ball definitely hit the dirt first.
Wonder if Freddie was asking why Barrett wouldn't ask for help on that play. So Cunningham out on a bad break. Here's Andrelton Simmons. Uribe at second with 1 out now. And that's in the air to center field, a base hit. Here comes Uribe around third. Pagan's throw is a rainbow that missed the cutoff man. And Simmons never stopped running. He's at second base with a 1-out run scoring hit. It's 5-0.
Each and every time tonight that the Braves have not been able to execute, say, a fundamental, like get the guy over, the Braves, the next batter has come through with a big hit to drive in the run anyway. And Andrelton with his second of the night. He's up to 20 RBIs. And Angel Pagan, who's ordinarily a very fundamentally sound outfielder, I don't know if he just lost the grip on that ball, if it was wet from the grass. He airmailed that thing very high.
Last time the Braves had double digits in the hit column was May 21st when they clobbered Milwaukee 10-1. They're shutting out the Giants 5-0 tonight. San Francisco's thrown 8 shutouts this month themselves, so they're getting a taste of their own medicine. And a shot to right off the bat of Bethancourt. Pence handles that sinking fly ball, and he made the grab for the second out.
One of the things you and I talked about in the Braves postgame show last night, Chip, was the need for the Braves offense to get going and try to score some runs early. Well, they did that tonight. 1 in the second and single runs in the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And that really helped Williams Perez kind of settle in and not be forced to make perfect pitches.
And these have not been booming extra base hits by and large for the Braves tonight. They've just done what they've been doing most of the year, putting the ball in play. They've got 9 singles among their 11 hits. Stolen a couple of bases. And you're right. Early runs are always appreciated. Perez got to pitch with the lead after 2. And the Braves have scored 5 times tonight.
Chris Johnson, his 6th pinch hit appearance. He's 1 for 5 with an RBI.
That missed inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. The big Braves lead. This may seem like somewhat of an inconsequential at bat, but that's not the case for Chris. He hasn't had many opportunities to play since coming back from the DL. And also, it's probably a reasonable guess that he'll be in the lineup tomorrow against Madison Bumgarner. Chance for him to get acclimated to the park. Two-hit, 2-run game for Juan Uribe. 2-hit, 2-run game for Jace Peterson. And Williams Perez with 7 shutout innings. 1-1 pitch rolled foul past Bo Porter. It's now 1-2. Looks like Luis Avilan will be the man that comes on to pitch the 8th tonight.
2 of the first 3 hitters are left-handed. 3 of the first 4.
This big crowd is a quiet crowd right now. The Braves have skunked them so far. It's 5-zip. Because that man has had an outstanding night, including his first big league hit.
You mentioned Machi's recent issues and giving up runs. Tonight, no different.
10 earned runs in just under 11 innings. And a swing and a miss will send this game to the bottom of the 8th inning. So the game is now in the hands of the Braves bullpen. They've got 5 runs to play with in game 3. Exceptionally good. It was tonight behind Williams Perez. And now the first man on in relief is Luis Avilan. And he hopes to improve on what have been awful numbers for the Braves relief corps.
And that 7 in the walk column, it's really got to go away. And beginning right here, just don't put guys on base, make better pitches, and finish up what Williams Perez started tonight, which was just a brilliant outing for 7 innings.
Avilan has the 2, 3, and 4 hitters for the Giants. It starts with Joe Panik. And he almost hit him with ball 1. Panik is 0 for 2. He walked last time up.
$5-0. 5-0.
8th inning. Leadoff walks the last 2 nights have led to big Giants innings. 2-0. There's a strike. It's 2-1. First 18 games, the Braves ERA 10th best in the major leagues. Last 28 games, they're dead last. In the air to center. Maben has to play it on a hop, and that almost scooted past him. So Avilan fell behind, and Panik leads off with a clean single to center. Jim Johnson's throwing in the Braves bullpen.
Fastball belt tie. That Panik is right on.
Here's Hunter Pence. He's got a hit in 3 tries. Strike 1.
1 for 4 in his career against Avilan.
Luis has pitched an inning plus on the trip. 2 hits, a run, 2 walks. And a dribbler hit towards short. Simmons will get 1. The flip to first is going to be late. And Atlanta gets the lead runner. Joe Panik at second base. 1 man down.
And again, Peterson comes across the bag to get that throw a little quicker from Anderson, who was in between on a hop again. And a good job by Panik to slide into Peterson to slow that throw down a little bit too. Pence is hard to double up. He comes out of the box pretty fast.
Brandon Belt is in the batter's box, and Bruce Bochy is going to come out and talk with Lance Barrett about something here.
They may appeal the play at second base to see if Peterson was on the bag. That may be what he's waiting on. Maybe not.
Bruce Bochy is going to talk, or asked to talk, with all the other umpires.
Dale Scott's the crew chief at first. It's not too often when a manager comes out and talks to the home plate umpire that he actually wants, the home plate umpire wants the other umpires involved.
Let's see from this angle. Is Jace on the bag? Oh ho. That's the old neighborhood play. From that angle, it looked like it was very close. Peterson's foot may have been off the bag. And apparently Bochy will not challenge the out call at second base.
If that's what he was questioning to begin with.
So 1 out, runner at first, and Brandon Belt is the hitter. And slashed on a play, headed for the upper deck. Strike 1.
He's 0 for 4 against Avilan. Luis made a good pitch to Hunter Pence. That's not surprising. He's pitched better the last 2 years against right-handers than he has left.
Brandon Belt's a guy the Braves should know very well. He was originally drafted by Atlanta in 2007. He was an 11th round pick by the Braves out of Hudson High School in Lufkin, Texas. But he obviously did not sign. The Giants took him in the 5th round in 2009. And Giants fans fell in love with him early. His first big league hit came against Clayton Kershaw. 0-2. Skips up there. Nice stop.
Say 07?
Yep.
That was the year the Braves drafted Hayward and Freeman.
Wow.
1 and 2.
He's an 11th round choice. Would have been some kind of draft. Giancarlo Stanton was in that draft too. One ball, 2 strikes. Not close. Belt might be growing into his power. He hit 17 home runs for the Giants in 2013. 12 last year. But he was on the DL 3 times. He's already got 6 homers this year. He's knocked in 21 men. All of his homers have come this month. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pence at first, 1 out. And he struck him out inside corner. Avilan has his 2nd out of the inning.
And upstairs with a fastball and tied him up. Foul tip into the glove. That away, Luis.
1 more out to get in the 8th, and it's Brandon Crawford. Couple of strikeouts for the San Francisco shortstop. And fouled straight back. That might have gotten a bite of Bethancourt on the way by. 0-1.
He got called out on strikes in the 4th, but since then, swing and a miss 3 times his last time up, and swinging a foul tip here. 4 straight pitches that he has swung and not connected on.
Up and in. Luis has a good fastball tonight. That one at 94 miles an hour, but it was off target, and it's an even count. Off-speed pitch and a beauty.
Outstanding. 94 up and in, 82 down and away. Or just down.
Over the mound, Avilan leaping try, throws wide to first, and that's in the camera well. So it's a base hit, an error on the throw. The Giants will have runners at 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs. So the errors are even, and that'll be the end of the line for Luis Avilan, as Jim Johnson will come striding in out of the Braves bullpen. San Francisco is threatening, but they trail big late. 2 on, 2 out. Johnson to face Angel Pagan next. in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Faced Pagan last night, got him to ground out. He went an inning, gave up 2 hits, 2 walks. One was intentional, and a run on the ground rule double by Buster Posey, but it was on an excellent pitch, a changeup down and in that somehow Posey got to.
Right back where it came from, off the pitcher, Uribe on the ricochet. Wow. Makes the play and throws to first. And that ends the Giants' 8th inning. The Braves still have a shutout. We go to the 9th. It's 5-0 Atlanta as the Braves D came up with a big play there. Ping pong action on this play. Suntrust saving the game a moment ago.
And it was going to be a base hit and probably 2 runs that would have scored. And Uribe picks it up barehanded here. Risky, but worked. And they get out of the inning.
Juan's had a good night tonight.
Sure has.
So the top of the order coming up for the Braves, it's Jace Peterson. He's got 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 for 4 night. And the first pitch is downstairs. Action begins in the Braves bullpen. Look who's pitching.
Not a safe situation.
Brandon Kniff is loosening up. And on a play foul. 1 ball, 1 strike for the Braves second baseman. He'll be followed by Maybin and Freddie Freeman. Change-up missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. Final in St. Louis. Dodgers win. They beat the Cardinals 5-1. So this could be a very satisfying win for the Braves tonight. First win perhaps for Williams Perez, but could also knock the Giants out of first place in the Western Division.
Snapped their 5-game winning streak.
Ripped over Belt's glove and into the right field corner. Jace Peterson's got at least 2. That ball hits off the fence and bounces high. Jace around second. He's going to try for 3, and he is going to make it a triple for Jace Peterson. What a night. A single, a double, and a triple in that order for the Braves second baseman. His second 2-bagger or 3-bagger of the year.
And this was a case where he wasn't trying to pull. He just got a pitch to react to. Got his hands in, nailed it over the head of Brandon Belt. And if you want to know the importance of hitting your relay man, here it is right here. If he hits Panic, they might have a shot at third. But by overthrowing Panic, it took a while for Crawford to wait to get it on one hop. They got no shot at third.
The Giants will again play the infield in for Cameron Maben. And that's a foul ball strike. Five runs on 12 hits for the Braves this evening. No runs, 6 hits for the Giants. In the air to center field, a base hit for Maben. He's got 2 RBIs tonight and 17 this month. A triple and a single. And Machi's problems continue in relief. A second run he's allowed tonight.
22nd RBI for Maben. And a big night for the Braves tonight, hitting with runners in scoring position. They've had an area, that's an area they've really scuffled in recent days. They were 5 for 35 going into last night's ball game. And they are 6 for 17 tonight.
We've had entire series where the Braves haven't had 17 chances with runners in scoring position. Not so tonight. Nice breakout ball game for Atlanta against Tim Lincecum, who's on the hook for the loss for the Giants. 0-1 for Freddie Freeman. The Braves first baseman's 1 for 4. He has struck out 3 times. His hit, though, brought home a 5th inning run, the 4th of the night for the Braves. Pitch, swing and miss. It's 0-2. Just missed a corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Freddie with a shot toward left. And that'll be playable for Gregor Blanco. He's got it. And that's the first out of the inning. That isn't the result Freddie wanted, but I like the fact that he hit the ball the other way. Maybe that's a sign of better things to come for him.
Well, I think the fact that he hit it the other way and made solid contact with it is a good sign, because I thought earlier in the count he swung and missed, and he was trying to hit the ball the other way and kind of was drifting, kind of slid out too far. And if you're going to try to go the other way, you got to let the ball travel a little bit. You can't go out there and get it.
So 1 on, 1 out, 1 in the 9th. Nick Markakis plays right fielder bats. One ball, no strikes. Seagulls circling here in the 9th. Chia about to make his 27th pitch of the night. And missed with it. They had a game earlier this year, I believe it was, with Arizona in town, and they had a very interesting situation arise with a Seagull. Where the Diamondbacks was on the mound, and something dropped right by the pitcher's mound. Nobody knew what it was. Balls, no strikes, and a foul ball out of play. After very intense forensic study, they discovered it was a chicken nugget.
Right there, bouncing on the side of the mound.
I've never seen that before, man.
Fell out of a seagull's mouth.
And CB Buck says, I'm not picking that up.
Yeah.
They truly do have a bird's eye view in the upper deck. Down the left field line as the pitch is slashed that way by Markakis. 2 minutes, that roof will be lined with seagulls ready to pounce. All the popcorn and goodies left over after the game. I affectionately call that area of the park the poop deck. Go along with your opera box and right. The poop deck in left. Across the shoot tops for Markakis, 3 balls, 2 strikes.
That truly is the
Yep.
castle to the outhouse, but
see, they're swarming up there. They're hungry. Three and 2. Here comes, and a bouncing ball. It's foul. F-O-U-L, not F-O-W-L. Uribe waits next. Machi has really slowed the tempo. The pitch is cut on and missed. Markakis is the second out. And here's Uribe with Maben at first.
one other thing about the Braves offense tonight, in addition to having 13 hits, they've spaced them out pretty well. They went 1, 2, 3 in the first inning, but then have scored in 6 of the last 8 innings since then. 6 of the 9 overall, single runs in those 6 innings.
And for an opponent, those are demoralizing runs. Those add-on tallies. Guys have never been able to catch up. Haven't really had many scoring opportunities. That's how good Williams Perez was tonight. And Uribe, a slow roller, foul to the Giants dugout. Strike one. Julio Teheran, Madison, Bumgarner tomorrow. Bumgarner is 6-2 this year. Julio Teheran is 4-2 this year.
And hoping that Julio gets back on track.
Oh, 1 pitch. Swing and a drive. Belted deep left. Uribe has homered for Atlanta.
Woo! Did that get out of here in a hurry? Juan was the first batter that Machi faced, and remember, he lined one to right on a high fastball. And a split that was a hanging split finger pitch. And a no doubter.
Deep into the night, into the seats in left. Uribe's second homer of the season, his first as a Brave, and it's an 8-0 Braves lead. Ball 1 to Todd Cunningham. Off his thumbs and into the crowd. It's even for Cunningham. The Giants don't want to, but they may have no choice but to go to the bullpen again.
Yeah, they wanted Machi to finish it up, but showing a lot of pitches, as you see. Javi Lopez loosens up.
popped up. Blanco in left is going to have room, and he'll put the squeeze on that. Gene Machi had a rough appearance. 2 innings, 4 runs. The big blow, Juan Uribe's first homer as a Brave. All Atlanta. 3 outs to get for a shutout at AT&T Park.
AT&T Uverse, Delta Airlines, and your local Ford dealer.
Well, the Giants have thrown 8 shutouts in May. Let's see if the Braves can hand them one of their own. 8-0 is your score. Brandon Caniff will try to finish it off with the bottom part of the order here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
And he'd like to get back on track, too. He came in the 8th inning to start the 8th inning here 2 nights ago. Third of an inning, 4 hits, a walk. All the runners scored, 5 of them.
So far this season, the Braves pitching staff has thrown 4 shutouts. This could be number 5, and a victory for Williams Perez, who started and looked great tonight. Caniff, as you know, had that long streak of 30 in a row. Right-handed hitters without a hit. That ended in this series. Let's see if we can start a new streak with Matt Duffy. And he missed outside, ball 2.
I think it was Duffy that he walked to start that inning the other night. It was.
Here we go. Yes, he did. There's a break, which didn't appear to be a strike. 2-2. Full count. Ground ball to short. Simmons has it. And there's the first out. Andrew Susac. Couple of walks. A little roller in front of the plate that caused him some embarrassment. It spun fair after hitting behind the plate foul. He was tagged out. He's also made a throwing error in the game. One ball, no strikes for Susac.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Brandon ready with a 1-2 pitch. And just missed with it.
That error by Avilan last inning, the 23rd made by the Braves this year, but 6 by pitchers.
Swing and a miss, and the Braves are now away from polishing off the Giants. 2 men out, and it'll be Gregor Blanco.
Good fastball after getting him to check swing on a couple of sliders. Things back to normal for Kenneth.
Blanco flied out in his lone at bat. He came on in the 7th. And that's taken low. Julio Teheran, Madison Bumgarner tomorrow afternoon. That's down the left field line and down by the Giants bullpen. Breaking ball. Now we're a strike away. Just missed. And now 2-2 for Blanco.
So great effort tonight, bouncing back, getting the offense going. Another great starting pitching effort. And 2 good innings by the bullpen. Avilan got in a little trouble in the 8th. But the Braves able to escape thanks to that ricochet rabbit off of Johnson that went right to Uribe.
Blanco not going quietly tonight. Oh, and a poor fielding fan in the front row tried to make a bare hand play and knocked the ball into the lower deck. Ooh. Terrible fielding. But he had his phone out. 3-2. Line past Simmons and into center field. So a base hit for Gregor Blanco, and Joaquin Arias is going to pinch hit for Machi. Arias 0 for 9 as a pinch hitter and 171 overall for the year. Five hits, 4 runs, and 2 innings of relief for Machi. This is the first appearance of any sort for Arias since May 24th when he started at shortstop against the Rockies. Only 4 starts in his last 41 games and is hitless in his last 16 tries. Come on, Brandon. It's 8-0.
Yep. Lay it on him, Christian.
Donnie Veal jogs down to the bullpen mound. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 outs. There's a strike.
One of the things that sticks out about some of the work that we showed you recently about the Braves bullpen is how many pitches they've thrown.
Lots of them.
And so few clean innings. Even guys that are pitching partial innings. But he's already up to 21 or 22 pitches, 22, in an 8-0 ball game.
We're told that on this road trip with those gaudy numbers, the 12-point ERA, the Braves relievers are averaging 20 pitches an inning.
That's a lot.
2-2. Just outside. Throw him your best country fastball and see what he can do with it. Runner goes. Line drive center. Maben got a good jump. Can't get it. Plays it on a hop. So back-to-back hits with 2 outs. And Joe Panik is coming up.
These are major league hitters. So when you fall behind, and then you've got to come in with a fastball like Arias, he's sitting on the fastball, put a good swing on it. It's not that hard to figure out how they're hitting the ball hard, even on a 93 fastball, when you're pitching from behind in the count all the time.
24 pitches for Brandon, 11 balls. And that one grounded to short. Panik will be retired to end the ball game. Atlanta has shut out the Giants in 2 hours and 51 minutes. 8-0. The Braves have won their first game of this series in San Francisco. Williams Perez, his first big league win. We'll talk about that right after this.